you've got that love and bond with each other. So it's not hard, you know? It's like a soap opera, I guess.
She's got to ride or die. That's her style. But Michelle Rodriguez is temporarily parking to talk Furious 7. Michelle, welcome to our binge of Fast and Furious.
What's going on, man?
We're doing great.
You?
Anytime we can talk Fast and Furious, we're doing great. So we really are excited to chat with you about Furious 7. We'll start off, as we do with every episode, you know, the famous words of Dominic Toretto, where, you know, he lives his life a quarter mile at a time. Nothing else matters for those 10 seconds. He's free. So how would you summarize this film, Furious 7, in 10 seconds?
Oh, wow. I mean, that's tough.
We won't judge if it goes a few over. You know, we're lenient here.
We'll accept it.
7 is special because, you know, we were saying goodbye to somebody we love, who was there from the jump. And like, if anybody can express the enthusiasm of what Fast and Furious means to the world, it was Paul. And so it was his homage. And, you know, I think that it was just a really, really beautiful film. For me, it's special and it hits home just because of that. And for me, like that it kind of supersedes anything, you know, about the movie itself, the action or the plot or any of that. Like none of that really matters. It's a goodbye to Paul, you know?
Absolutely.
Just open your eyes, man. Beautiful.
That's where he belongs.
Home.
We'll definitely get into, you know, the beautiful send-off. I mean, I feel like sometimes I just pull up that last, you know, 10 minutes and just watch it on a loop. But obviously taking a few steps back, you know, before diving into Furious 7, it seems like we watch Fast 4. We're like, oh, like it seems, you know, like Letty died and, you know, barring an evil twin situation, like we're not going to see Michelle in these movies anymore. I mean, did you think the same or did you like know it was always the plan to bring you back?
Yeah, absolutely. I had no idea. I mean, originally when I said yes to it, I said yes to it with the exception that they would test an alternative ending, you know, with me living, because I knew that the audience didn't want that. You know, there was very already low representation for women, period. And there's a lot of women who love racing cars all around the world. And to take that away from them with the one character that was like really kick ass, I didn't think that it's what people wanted. And I kind of was right in the end, but it just took them a while to figure it out. And I didn't find out about it until I actually went to go see Fast 5. And I saw the tag ending. I was in Paris. Vin didn't even tell me. He was like, don't worry about this. I got this. And then I didn't hear from him for like a year or something.
Should have played hardball. I mean,
wow.
You had all the negotiating power.
Yeah. His word, that one. You got to give him that.
Yeah. So that's like after you come out of the theater, that's your first call. Like, what
the hell, dude? Like, after you didn't tell me. He's like, I did tell you. I'm like, you're so enigmatic. Like, stop it.
He's like, you told Eva Mendes before me? What the heck is going on here?
You know what the hell, man?
Yeah, right?
Like, what's up with that? So funny.
So then what was it like when you realize, okay, they want to bring Letty back? Like you start having those conversations about in what way? Like at what point for you did it come up like with the whole amnesia thing and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, that was a wild conversation, you know, because I mean, at first it was getting over the fact that she could be alive. You know, for a lot of people, you know, especially after the year 2000, that whole idea of doing movies like they did in the 90s was out the window. And, you know, it was like this, we have to try to be as real as possible after the year 2000. You know what I mean? It was like all of a sudden somebody, I don't know who put the bar there, but like, you know, those Lethal Weapon movies where you're like flying in a house having a fight and then all of a sudden a car goes through a building and lands in it. Wait, we did that, didn't we? Yeah, like, you know, like those ideas were like out the window. And like, I think Fast and Furious kind of slowly brought that vibe back and got away with it. And we were like looking around, waiting for some flack. And like, you know, I guess the hurrahs were in the ticket sales. And so all the flack was from the critics and we didn't really care about that because all we care about is people watching the movie and really loving it and enjoying the whole thing. So it was a blast. I mean, it's been pretty wild.
What was it like then, you know, in Fast 6 and Furious 7, you're playing a Letty who's like battling so many things like amnesia, people trying to tell her who she is, which I imagine is very frustrating for someone. So like, what's it like playing all that and like going on this journey with this character who like, at this point, like you, the actress, know more about the character than they know about themselves.
I mean, you know, yeah, it was really, really tough, you know, just going through that whole process. Eventually it got to a point where we got some females on board and it felt a lot easier because I think that, you know, for the most part, the one thing that most male writers got out of Letty was that she's no nonsense. And I guess that kind of like, it stuck with them like concrete. And all of a sudden there was nothing outside of that. So it's always this whenever you look at Letty. Or
Right.
it's like, and I'm like, dude, what the hell? Does this bitch smile ever?
Right. Does she have
Like,
fun?
what the hell? I don't know what happened. No, but it was really, really interesting just trying to find dimension through the years, you know, because I think that it's like, I don't know. I think girls are different than boys. And, you know, for male writers, I think sometimes it's hard outside of sex or outside of boyfriend, girlfriend to really find her psychological meaning. And eventually we got to a place where I think we found a little bit of dimension. So I'm super happy, super stoked.
And I feel like Furious 7 ties directly into that because it's the continuation of where Letty is emotionally and what she's thinking about herself. And so she says, like, right at the beginning of the movie, like, I got to find myself.
Yeah.
So was that the most exciting part of the Furious 7 script, or what was the most exciting thing for you? Like when you see it and you're like, all right, this is what we're shooting. This is sort of the next step for the character. What was the most exciting part of that for you?
I think with Fast 7, it was the beauty of like, we did it. We got through the threshold. We proved that people want what we got to offer. And we proved that people prefer to have Letty back. And so now it was really just about establishing the fun again and getting back into, you know, the whole idea of why we do this. You know, what is so exciting about Fast and Furious? And it's the fact that, you know, you have people who come from the other side of the tracks and they're doing extraordinary things. With cars, like flying, you know, out of an airplane and landing in a parachute. Like, come on, guys! Like, you don't see that every day, and so it's kind of cool to be able to play with that. And we were in that mode of like, finally, we're through the threshold of proving ourselves, and now we get to actually get to the core of what we love about the franchise, which is the action and the fun process of it.
I mean, there's so many amazing scenes, like you even just referenced a bunch of the action ones, but like, do you have a personal from Furious 7, like a personal favorite? There's obviously so many good ones, whether it's the action ones, your fight with Ronda Rousey, you know, obviously some more emotional ones too. It's so good. I mean, that fight, you had you have the great fight in 6. And then it's like they keep throwing more MMA fighters at you when we show up here.
Yeah.
Well, it was about upping the ante on the female empowerment stuff. And, you know, so like if the choreographer throws me a 5, I'm going to go for a 10. And so where there was originally a bunch of fighting stuff, I want rigs, you know, for people to fly. And like, I want, you know, some danger involved. So like people are going to go down the stairs in 6 and in 7 we're going to have like a balls out fight. I remember that Ronda Rousey fight. I had 2 golf ball size knots on my forehead
Oh wow.
because I forgot, you know, I was like, this is Ronda Rousey, dude. Like, of course she hits hard and she's really slam you against the wall. Had I been a stunt double, I would have remembered that as I'm flying towards the wall, I'm supposed to lift my hand nonchalantly to cover the hit. Apparently, I got so involved as an actress in the moment that I just let my forehead whack the wall multiple times. And but I love it. I mean, that's where the juicy stuff is. And if you can't really push the envelope on the female stuff, on the female action, then you're not making action movies, because that's where it's at. Like, we don't get a lot of that and in general. And I think most women are more concerned with how good they look than how badass they can really, come across on the screen, and what crazy or chaotic action they could pull off. And for me, that's more important than looking good. I could give two rats' asses what I look like. I want to kick some serious ass, or at least get my ass kicked really seriously. Right. That's fun. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that fight was really, really hit it home for me.
Jordana sort of said something similar, where she was like constantly trying to prove to Justin that like, I can do some stunts. Like, I've been training. Like, let me do more stuff.
Just wait till you see her in 9.
Oh, exciting.
It's going to be good. I really think that 9 is doing some justice for all the girls. I'm like really great. Proud of each and every woman in Fast 9. And I'm like, yes, finally, after, what was it? It only took 18 years. Right. I'm like, yeah, you finally caught up. What I'm talking about. Now you realize it's cool.
I mean, that's just in the trailer. I mean, there's so many things that I was super excited about, but just seeing like glimpses of you and Jordana like kicking ass together, like was one of the things that I was really the most pumped about. Because I remember you pointed this out in an interview you did a couple years ago. One of my former colleagues did this big feature on like all the badass women that have been in Fast, which is kind of crazy if you look down the list and just realize. And you pointed out that like you and Jordana hadn't even really shared that many scenes. Like you'd worked for like 15 years together. Yeah. You hadn't even talked to each other.
Hands.
So what's it been?
How many times?
So you guys have made so much progress. It sounds like in this 9th one. So what's it been like for you kind of over these last 20 years, like working on the behalf of, Letty and continuing to fight for her and the other female characters? Cause I know after 8, you were kind of like, hey, like we need to get this figured out, or like, I don't know, I might have to walk away.
Yeah, man. No, you know what? You can't really blame anybody for that kind of stuff. It's just we're all figuring it out as we go along. We're all discovering it. We never thought, period, that Fast and Furious would go beyond a second movie. Like a second sequels. Nobody had even thought that sequels were a good thing. Like we thought sequels were taboo. That's like established in the 90s that you don't do sequels. You know what I mean? Unless you're like Lethal Weapon or Die Hard, you just can't pull it off, So it was a surprise to us, all of us, that it even had longevity. Then it's another surprise that, female empowerment movement would take women so far as to say, hey, I can do what you can do, and it's cool because we actually are interested in these fields and it exists. They're like one of the best drifters in the world is a female. Like, there's like the biggest surf wave was surfed by a woman last year. Like, so I mean, there are things that happen that times change and eventually, the franchise gets to move with that. And so it's been a really great process just trying to get, I was always kind of like ahead of that curve just because I was a tomboy by chance and just because I really, really enjoy action. And so I will not like to stand on the sidelines if I'm in a scene and there's a fight. I'd like to keep it real and like, what would you do in real life? Like, yeah, I'd be in that fight, buddy. I'm not going to be sitting around, screaming, help me. You know what I mean? Like, so, that process has been interesting and it's a learning curve, both with, being a female, with stunt doubles, coordinators, with writers, with producers, and just all around, just having to express myself for 18 years, always having to say, no, that doesn't work because. And then eventually hoping that the reasoning behind it will resonate and eventually changes will be made and your character is not a slut anymore. And all of a sudden now you're having action sequences that suit or be, are more suitable to what reality would be if you were really in that situation. And so like, it just makes me happy. Like we've grown so much, in the last 18 years and it's all of us, we're in it together. And so it's kind of cool that they were open enough to change and to evolve with the times.
Was there, I know that you did an interview last fall where you mentioned like a female writer coming in on
Yeah,
9.
SLP.
Yeah, is that Susan Laurie Parks? Like you referred to her as SLP. Okay, great.
Get it. That was all Samantha Vin's sister. She's an amazing producer on Fast. And she's just fantastic, man. She's just gangster when it comes to like finding, really great women to come on board. And so, I was super stoked, like I really love her. Like she's got good vibes, that one.
Yeah. And we've just like been excited because she's done all this stuff recently with like United States versus Billie Holiday and now Genius Aretha. So like thinking about what I'm like excited to see like the Fast universe kind of, partially in her hands too. Like that's awesome.
No, it's in demand. A voice like that, that's strong, that understands, depth and dimension, it's definitely welcome. And she's definitely overqualified in whatever job she picks.
There's obviously been like so many great action and fight sequences like in Fast, but like in Furious 7 here, you get to do like a lot of, powerful and emotional kind of stuff, whether it's the scene at the grave early on.
That's the date that Letty died. And I was born.
Or at the end when, love brings Dom back to life, seemingly.
I remember everything. I remember it all.
It's about time.
So what was it like getting to maybe tap into some new things for these heavier moments in at least Furious 7?
It's tough because like I'm like, do I have to be the heart for all of us? Somebody else like cry a little bit? And this is like, dude, I wanna kick some ass too. No, it's been interesting, because I think that carrying the weight of 18 years together, is a beautiful thing. Like we've literally around the world, like I can go to a place like Mongolia where they're like having an eagle hunting festival and I'm taking a selfie with a Kazakh, who hangs out in the fields like with his eagle. And it's because of Fast and Furious. Or I'll be in Gabon in Africa and all of a sudden I'm taking pictures with Hassan's Bushman. And it's because he's totally like down with the Fast and Furious franchise. And I'm like, dude, this is global. And with people. I grew up with people, so like literally from the year 2000 to cut to now, people have had children and like those little kids who used to go with their dad. Now that dad is a grandpa. And it's just quite awesome to have that kind of like knowledge that that's what it represents. So whenever we do have those moments, which are super emotional, in the franchise film, it's also like, me being super emotional with family. Like these are people that I grew up with and they gave me like, they were part of this new life that I started, coming from Jersey City and like, and so it's very easy for me to go there. It's not hard at all to pull heartstrings on a Fast and Furious film because, all the characters, they really carry that gravitas of love, of camaraderie, of being through the thick of it with each other. We carry that. And so it's just very easy, I think, to suffer. Because you've got that love and bond with each other, so it's not hard, It's like a soap opera, I guess. At this point, I mean, geez, we lasted long enough, right?
Enough people.
Because of our lives is what we're running up against now.
Enough people have come back from the dead, I think, now to officially be a soap opera. Probably,
to qualify.
That's hilarious.
Well, in that same sort of vein with the people that come sort of in and out, depending on what's happening with the plot, like coming out of 6, you lose, we think, the Han character. And then, of course, Right. But then also in 7, you welcome sort of Ramsey. So what's it like for you guys who've all like been there? Like when someone new comes in, are there things that you love to do to welcome them, or how does that happen? To make sure everybody feels like, all right, now you're part of the crew.
I think that Vin does a really, really good job of commandeering that whole situation of welcoming new characters in and making sure that they understand that we're all in it together. Dinners usually, events where we all get to hang out with each other and really feel each other's energy out. That's really where it all starts. And then from there, the working days come easy. From there, you kind of understand, that we're all in this together, and we all just want to make really great product and make sure that people out there are entertained. And so I think that Vin does a really, really, really good job of making that shine through.
This feels like such a big film for the, Letty and Dom relationship. Finally, she's back in the fold after, being gone, and then, whatever, all that happened in 6. What are the conversations like that you and Vin have, like talking through this relationship that you've now been portraying for, 20 years, and kind of the evolution of that?
It's a lot. Those conversations have evolved throughout the years, At first, the conversations were more about, don't you want an equal at your side? And then after that has been established, the conversations are more about like family, whether or not, to expand it, what that looks like. What the future looks like for the franchise and for the characters in it, how does that grow? And it's crazy because nobody ever thought we'd be at a 9. Like, I mean, what the hell? Like, Jesus,
Right.
Not even Harry Potter, for Christ's sake. Like, what the hell? So, I mean, it's definitely been a trip. But with me and Vin, it's just so easy, because we understand each other and we work really, really well together creatively. We can knock things out. I think it's because we have our feet in that urban kind of world and also on the ground with the love of family and the understanding of what tribe means. And I think that when you're very tribal like that naturally, and you're very like off the beaten track, rebellious, or just by nature, it's easier for you to imagine what these fast stories, where they're going, and easy for you to see what works and what doesn't, because it's intuitive. You know what I mean? Like, we have that street smart that we can bring to the table, which is something that I don't think a lot of executives carry. You know what I mean? Or like writers that grew up in Beverly Hills or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, those kinds of things, we have those lines. And so if you cross those lines with us, we know that you're endangering the integrity of something that's really important. And that's something that I think you need. If you don't have that line, then you're going to get, those movies that don't work, that are about cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that line, that integrity line, is what I think keeps everybody coming back for more.
Yeah.
Were there specific things about the relationship that you wanted that either came to pass or like, getting to 8 and sort of realizing like, oh, they can talk about kids or something like that? Were those things that you had hoped for, or did they kind of evolve as you were doing the movies?
For me personally, that's like a nightmare. That whole male, female, like, heterosexual, like whatever. I'm so like, when it comes to movies and action, like I'm so asexual, it's not even funny. Like I'm just like, no, don't talk about relationships and love. Who gives a shit? Let's just like throw some action in there and like make it better. I have an adverse reaction to all that romance stuff. But I know we need it because, the world is about love, that kind of romantic love, and they really eat that stuff up. So I go with the flow. I let him take the lead on that. But for me, it's just the only time I smile or get giddy is when you're talking about like explosions and, people flying through the air and, tumbling over the ground on fire.
See, that's still why I say I think like the most romantic thing I've ever seen in a movie is in Fast 6 when you're flying off the tank and he jumps in the air and catches you, because that's action, right? Because we got the action going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not just.
It's the perfect combination.
That I'm done with that. We could do that all day. I'm all about it.
You mentioned obviously at the top. Like, I mean, as great as like everything is in this movie, like really what matters is kind of you guys paying homage and kind of saying goodbye to Paul and, you know, into the Brian character.
Yeah.
Obviously that was someone you worked with for, you know, 15 years, you know, plus, and, you know, we know how much he meant to not only the movies, but to all of you guys. So I don't know, just talk to us about Paul and kind of your relationship with him. It seems like anybody we talk to, like, you don't even have to ask about Paul. They'll just bring him up and, you know, talk about what a great person he was, you know, first and foremost. So kind of, you know, just talk to me about Paul and kind of, you know, your relationship and how that went, you know, over the years.
Paul's just like, he's like an earth creature, like me. You know what I mean? Like, you give me a freaking tree and some dirt and some animal life, and I can be there for like ever in happiness. Paul, you can give him the sea and, you know, a board, and he could be there in happiness, you know. And that's how me and him bonded, is because we were just so attracted to nature and so in love with nature, that's how I and him kind of saw eye to eye. And for us too, like, the excitement about being in the franchise was the more live action and analog action you could get, the better. And so through the years, me and him shared like that attraction and that adverseness to anything CGI. Like, if you say CGI to me, I'm like, no, let's get a stunt double. Like, let's double this sucker. Let's see how many cars we can destroy, which is not that great for the environment, but at the same time, it is what the heart of action movie making is about. And you know, and I think that's, me and him shared that together. You know, it was just this kind of love for how real we could get.
Yeah.
You know, in the process of making something that is art. You know, making action movies, like, it's not just that. It's like, the more realistic you could be, the more in jeopardy your life is, the better the ride. And so, like, I think that me and him shared that. Also, the love of guns. I really adore weapons, and I like shooting weapons, and I like racing cars in the track. And so, like, we shared like actually enjoying these activities in general. So we'd always talk about that kind of stuff together. And I just loved him a lot. He was just a fucking great guy.
I mean, I think there is a little CGI involved, but there's a little moment that I love in Furious 7 when, you know, he's running off to get off the truck that's falling off the cliff, and he jumps off and he, you know, gets onto your car right at the end, and he's just laying there, and then you just get out and you're like, you good? Like, it's just a small little moment between the characters, but like, it's just rewatching it every time. I'm like, it works so well. Obviously then, you know, he passes, you know, during filming. Like, obviously we know that was such a hard time, you know, for all of you, and there was so much grieving to be done before even thinking about, you know, something so trivial as a movie. But once those conversations started, was there ever a part of you that didn't think you guys would actually finish the movie? Like, it just, you know, didn't make sense, or you just didn't, you know, feel like that was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, there was no consciousness after that. You know what I mean? Like, you lose them, and like, we didn't think about a movie, you know, after that. It was like a year passed, and then it's like, oh, okay, wait, they were actually cutting something together that whole time. You know, it's a haze. You kind of wake up out of it and you're like, wait, we're still doing this? Yeah. You know? It was a shock, you know, that we would even keep going. I think both for both me and Vin, especially, it was just like, really? You can see beyond this? You know, just looking at each other and being like, really? You could see beyond this?
Yeah.
You know?
Obviously, you know, we talk about that final scene at the beach, which is, you know, just so emotional. I get emotional just watching it every time. So I can't imagine like filming that, and then even, you know, you seeing it for the first time in its final form. But it really is perfect, you know, and the task of pulling that off is kind of incredible that it was done so beautifully. So I don't know, what was it like even, you know, just filming that, and then for you seeing it in its final form and knowing, you know, what it took to get there?
I was really proud of the studio. Because it can get life, in this business can get so corporate, and people can like forget the humanity of things. Like you forget there's humans behind brands and humans behind faces, and you forget the life behind that sometimes in this business side of things. And it just really, I think the studio really showed up, and they said, you know what? We give a shit. We care. And like, we really loved Paul, and we're going to prove that. And we're going to really, really make sure that this is done right. And I praise them for that, because, I couldn't have imagined a better goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no easy transition, but to kind of wrap up our conversation on Furious 7, we always end one of these with what we call the final lap, a little bit more of off the wall questions about the movie and the franchise. So first one, if you could pick, say we're adding someone into Furious 7, they're not replacing anybody, but we're taking maybe another actor from the Fast universe that's not in the movie, or just another actor maybe you've always wanted to see in a Fast movie. Who would we add into the mix here for Furious 7?
Oh my God! In Furious 7,
or just any Fast film. We'll take any answer.
Any Fast movie. Wow! Oh my God! I love me a Matt Damon. I think me and Ty are like, yo, Matt, what are you doing? Like, what's up, man? Would you ever do one of these, or is it like, I don't know? Is it too crazy for you to do one of these? I don't know. Because he's like a serious actor, right?
But he also
right.
He did 4 Bourne movies. Yeah. I mean, he's got the action in his blood there.
No, but
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even just
it would be sweet.
Just have him play Jason Bourne in the movies. I don't know, some universal crossover.
You know something? To be fair, part of the universe of Universal, right? So the one thing about branding is that you can never kind of cross studios, right? That's the rule or whatever. But like, I just like, honestly, like if you can mix Transformers with a Fast and Furious, like where else are we going to go? Are we going to keep
right? Yeah.
You might as well start crossbreeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you got? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think? Back to the Future.
That's something I would love to see. Anyway, we got to time travel, guys.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Everyone's talking about space, and we're over here jumping ahead of that. Forget space. We're going to the future.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, like there's nowhere else to go but to merge. I mean, corporations do it when they get too big, and like eventually these franchises, they're going to get so, I mean, where do you go if you've done it all? So at some point you're going to have to merge. And I like the idea of Bourne and Fast. I mean, I hope they don't think it dilutes Bourne in any way, because they're so serious, and we kind of joke around a little bit.
Right.
I don't know. I think it's a good idea to start thinking about co-branding stuff within a studio. I think it'd be sweet.
And we won't even take a commission after the idea coming from here. We will.
I know, right? I just want to see it,
100%.
Right.
I genuinely just want to see this kind of stuff. I'd love to see. What else would you merge?
Oh, man. That's...
Oh.
Like Disney has, what about Star Wars and Marvel? Wow.
They're close. They're close. They're getting there, I feel like.
Dude, what the hell, man? That would be insane.
I've been saying Mission Impossible with Fast, because I feel like Tom Cruise has already been trying to go to space, and they're always talking about Fast going to space. Just get...
But is Mission Impossible Universal?
Oh, no. See, that's too much.
Yeah,
too many contracts.
You can't cross.
Too many contracts. Too many contracts.
Yeah, that's what it is. The lawyers go crazy.
Jeez.
Those guys are like the new warriors, It's like those guys,
Yeah.
What so a couple years ago, I ranked, because I asked the question, who is the fastest and furiousest? I think I even made that word up, in Fast and Furious. Now I need to get reaction. Everyone I've been given their ranking to has been like, hey, see F9 and I'm gonna rise. But I put Letty at number 2 on the fastest and furiousest rankings.
What does that mean? Does that mean that like I drive cars
Yeah, so
fast?
it was a system of I gave you 4 out of 5 Coronas on fast and 4 out of 5 Coronas on Furious. So I mean, 2. I mean, it was only Dom was just ahead of you. I think he had like 4.5 Coronas or something. So
great.
does that feel right? Is 2? I think that's respectable.
Yeah, it feels about right. I definitely am more furious than I am fast. Like I'm a big military kind of like advocate, and I'm like smooth as fast. And so like for me, guns and like stuff like that, like I can get pretty raw when it comes to battle, but I'm not that great behind the wheel in real life. You know what I mean? Like I can hit it in the track, and I know all the rules. You know how to make straight lines out of curves and stuff. But I'm just better when it comes to like, planning battle or like attacks and things like this. That physical stuff and gun stuff is more fun for me.
Glad that ranking holds up. Everyone else was debating their spots, so I appreciate you. I got one right.
They're trying to jump ahead.
Yeah, man.
So we talked about like superheroes and stuff, and to me, I think to Derek too, like, Fast 5 comes out in 2011, and we've thought of basically like the Fast universe and all the main characters like as superheroes since then, because they're just bigger and larger and had the huge team ups. But if you could compare Letty to any superhero, who would you choose? Is there one close enough?
I don't even know why, but I thought Thor. I don't know why that, like, I don't know. Maybe you're just like seem that strong. I don't know. Thor was like.
No. Yeah. It's because I'm standing on the hood of the car with the. It's it's like that whole thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so funny. Gosh, if I could compare Letty to any superhero, I don't think they exist, man. To be quite honest, I think that we have not really played. The only superhero I've ever really truly adored, ever, is Catwoman, and I think everybody else kind of sucks. And I'm sorry, but like it's just me, me. Yeah. Like I just to find a realistic. Because that's what it is. It's action movies are realistic. And so like, you can't have like these super, super duper powers. You know what I mean? So like, dude, nobody can defeat you. Like, what does it even matter? You know what I mean? You need to have a vulnerability, and like being human is the best. So I like the Black Widow. She's kind of cool. But Catwoman's my favorite. I just always really liked her. She's badass. She's edgy. And I like people with dimension. I like people who are not always predictable. Like you don't.
I think that's perfect.
You don't necessarily know what she's going to do next. And I think that's quite cool.
Yeah, and the same kind of like a person who always does only what she wants. Like I'm not doing anything for anybody else.
I like the loner. That's what it is. Everybody's like on this kind of goody two shoes kick, and I'm just like boring.
Wrapping up, you've given us a little bit of hints of some awesome stuff to expect with Fast 9. But what would be your tease? We've all been waiting. That first trailer blew us all away. It's been over a year now. We've been waiting. So what would be your tease of Fast 9 as we start to get closer, finally?
Jesus. Oh, God, it's so nice to Han.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think that'll be great. It's just so awesome. I think he's so good. That blew me away because, like, dude, there was no more dead than that.
We saw it like 4 times in all the movies. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, whoa, how do you even fake that? But then when you get that trump card and you find out how it happened, and then you're like, anything's possible in the movies. I love it. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. The reveal is gonna be great. It'll be awesome.
I can't wait. Like, I kind of like, I'm just like, I kept thinking like, oh, how are they going to do it? I'm kind of like, I don't even care. They did it. I'm glad to have
I think Justin's Justin's the perfect guy to bring Han back because he has the biggest bond with him. They did Tokyo Drift together, and it was like that bond. When you have a director who really, really loves you, you know what I mean, and who you have a bond with, it's the perfect vehicle to like, do something as complicated as bringing you back to life in a franchise. So I think he's in the best hands he could possibly be in. And I think that he'll do nothing but justice for Han.
Literally.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
I mean, you can't end better than that. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us and talking Fury 7 and becoming a part of the Binge family. We appreciate it.
Cheers,
Awesome.
man.